Have you ever had the feeling that you're doing everything right in the world of investing, but still seem to be one step behind? As if there's another game happening behind the scenes. A game you weren't invited to? Well, that's exactly what I want to talk about today. There is an invisible market, a silent map that almost no one sees because they're trapped in layer 1, that level where everything seems transparent, accessible, and equal for everyone. But it's not. What you see as the market is just the surface. Basic fixed income, bad funds pushed as if they were rarities, recommendations repeated by the same influencers who say the same things to millions of people. It's the most beautiful and most limited showcase of the financial world. Have you ever experienced this? Meanwhile, a parallel reality is unfolding right next door, where people are trading opportunities you never imagined existed. And here's the part that usually bothers people while you struggle to raise your first $50,000, trying to understand how to escape the interest, fees, and traps that drain their money. Some people are accessing strategies, mentorship programs, and investments that simply, they don't appear to those who are just starting out. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you in a way that could change how you see the market. The truth is that beginners live in a bubble. They think they're playing the same game as more advanced investors, but in its practice, they're just walking down a narrow corridor, surrounded by ready-made products, generic solutions, and that constant feeling that maybe there's something more. This feeling isn't an illusion. It really exists, but nobody talks about it clearly. Perhaps because many don't even know these invisible layers, or perhaps because those who do know prefer to remain silent. And this idea that everyone's in the same boat is one of the biggest myths in personal finance. What I want you to realize now is that this hidden map doesn't appear by chance. It reveals itself gradually as your assets grow, as you develop a wealth-building mindset, and as you begin to make choices that take you beyond the surface. This explains why so many people spend years investing and don't get anywhere. It's not a lack of effort. It's a lack of access. And when you understand this, everything starts to make sense. The most valuable doors in the market don't open with basic knowledge. They open with consistency, discipline, and above all, accumulated wealth. What I'm going to show you here is precisely that difference between the market you see and the real market, the one that only appears to those who level up. And before we move on, it's worth reflecting. Do you feel stuck in this first layer? Do you feel you could be evolving faster if you had access to the right opportunities? If so, you're not alone. Many people have been through this, and that's why understanding this map is so important. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. And before we move on to this map that almost no one shows, let me make an important point with you. Because this isn't just a video. It's a real conversation about something that directly affects your wealth building. If what I've said so far has made sense, if at any point you thought, that's exactly how I feel, then leave a comment below about what resonated with you the most. Seriously, your experience might be similar to that of many people who are just starting out. And when you comment, you not only share your perspective, but also help others realize they're not alone on this journey. And since we're talking about access and breaking through the Tier 1 barrier, your participation, however simple it may seem, makes a huge difference. When you like the video, when you comment, when you subscribe to the channel, you send a clear signal to the algorithm that this content matters. And this makes this message reach more people who are also seeking clarity, direction, and a more conscious path in the world of investing. It's almost like unlocking a small door within YouTube itself. The more you interact, the more doors open for other people who need to hear this. So, if this topic resonates with something you've experienced, if at any point you felt trapped on the surface of the market, or discovered too late that hidden levels existed, share it here. And of course, leave a like and subscribe to continue walking with me through these invisible layers. Your presence here is what keeps this space alive, and I want to build a community that truly evolves together. A community that understands that knowledge is important, but access is transformative. Now getting back to the point that really resonated with you. The next step is understanding how this first layer keeps you trapped, often without you even realizing it. And that's exactly where the turning point begins. Let's delve deeper into this. When you first enter the financial market, the feeling is almost always the same. It seems like everything is there, available, organized, transparent, as if all you have to do is choose a path and move forward. Beginners truly believe that the market is equal for everyone, as if everyone were facing the same opportunities. But when you look a little closer, you realize that this feeling of equality is a carefully constructed illusion. What you see are just the shop windows open to the public, that collection of shelf products created to seem safe, practical, and good enough, but which ultimately serve the purpose of keeping you exactly where you are. It's curious how, at the beginning of the journey, everything seems standardized. You see those repeated recommendations, funds sold as if they were rarities, indications of mentors who only teach the basics and promise shortcuts that don't exist. Sometimes you even feel like you're progressing because you're putting money into some investment and following what they say is the right path. But when you take a deep breath and observe from the outside, you realize a hidden truth that bothers you. Here, you think you're investing, but in reality, you're just paying the system's bill. The mindset of those still stuck in Tier 1 is shaped by this environment that seems accessible but hides its limitations behind a layer of convenience. This is the point where many people begin to feel a kind of mild unease, as if something is out of place. It's that feeling of always being one step behind, as if everyone else is moving forward while you're stuck with the same products, the same high fees, the same generic speeches about diversification and long-term thinking. Have you noticed how none of this really changes your trajectory? It's like walking in circles believing you're evolving. The impact of this perception is profound because it affects how you see yourself within the market and how you understand your own decisions. And this experience of being on the outside, even when you do everything they say you should do, is more common than it seems. There's a silent backstage behind that first layer, where truly transformative opportunities don't appear in the shop windows. This is the structure that keeps millions of investors spinning on the surface, believing they have access to everything, when in reality, they only see the visible tip of the map. And when you start to realize this, something inside you changes. You understand that the market won't spontaneously hand you the answers, and that true evolution requires going beyond the comfortable limits of retail. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding what keeps you stuck in this initial layer is the first step to breaking this cycle and seeing what truly exists beyond it. And before we continue, leave a comment below. I'm on this journey too. When someone finally overcomes that initial phase of confusion and limitations, something begins to change almost silently. It's not a sudden change, not an official announcement, but a series of small signs that show you're emerging from the surface. It's at this point, usually between 50K and 250K, that the market starts behaving differently towards you. It's as if, suddenly, some doors that previously seemed locked begin to open slightly, revealing corridors you never imagined existed. And this moment has a huge impact on the mindset of those on this journey, because you begin to realize that what they said was equal access for all was never true. The first change usually appears in the type of advisor who approaches you. Suddenly, the treatment changes. The tone changes. The answers become less generic, less rehearsed, and more aligned with your real needs. It's no coincidence. The market knows exactly when you're about to enter another level. Soon after, products with lower fees begin to appear, investments that didn't previously appear on your platform, and subtle invitations to participate in small groups where the conversation is completely different from what you find in retail. It's at this moment that you understand that there's another environment being accessed by people who have a little more accumulated wealth, and that this environment has always been there, just invisible to those who hadn't yet crossed a certain threshold. The transformation continues when you realize that networking takes on a new importance. Conversations stop being about how to start and begin to be about decisions, strategies, behind-the-scenes aspects, and moves that truly make a difference in the long run. And perhaps the most striking part of this phase is precisely the emergence of the first opportunities outside of retail. Private investments, restricted funding rounds, offers that don't appear in advertisements and are often not even publicly mentioned. It's like seeing for the first time the shadow of a larger map, of a system that automatically filters who can and cannot enter. And this revelation shakes anyone. You start to distrust the system because you realize it wasn't about knowledge. It was about access. The hidden truth is that the market doesn't open up to those who know, but to those who achieve the necessary wealth to be seen. And this is where the 250K appears as a watershed moment. Not because there's a rule written in some secret contract, but because from that point on, the market starts to see you differently. You stop being just another retail investor and become someone who can enter spaces where decisions truly shape people's financial future. This realization changes everything because it dismantles the belief that simply studying and following generic recommendations is enough. The real journey begins when you realize there are secret levels that only reveal themselves when you climb a step. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because understanding the logic of these layers is fundamental to seeing what happens after the 250K mark, where the game truly changes. Comment below. That makes sense to me. When someone finally crosses the 250K mark, something changes in a way that can't be explained with numbers alone. It's almost like walking through a door that's always been there, but only opens when the system recognizes you're ready to enter. And this moment triggers a silent, almost symbolic transformation, because you realize it's no longer about studying more, working more, or saving more. It's about the impact of being seen. From this point on, the market stops treating you as someone who is trying to grow and starts seeing you as someone who is already part of the game. And it is precisely at this point that the famous Shark Room is born, an environment that doesn't appear in ads, platforms, or open courses, but exists and functions as the center of gravity for major financial decisions. The first signs of this new layer emerge when you realize that opportunities that never arose before are starting to appear. Investments that aren't shown anywhere, not even to those who ask. These are restricted products, private offers, silent participation in businesses that don't reach the retail market. Suddenly, you receive invitations to private rounds, closed groups, discreet meetings where the conversation is no longer about saving 30 rials here or there, but about how to multiply wealth strategically, calculatedly, and based on information that simply doesn't circulate publicly. The hidden truth is that this layer has nothing to do with glamour or status. It has to do with access. And perhaps the most impactful part of this phase is realizing how the mindset of the people around you completely changes. Experienced mentors and investors begin to see you, invite you to talk, want to understand your journey, your decisions, your goals. The exchange ceases to be superficial and becomes about vision, risks, behind the scenes, insights, and revelations that would never reach you when you were in the previous layers. Here, silence speaks louder than any public discourse. This layer functions almost like its own ecosystem, where those within share information naturally, because everyone has already passed through the same selection filter: consistency, discipline, and accumulated wealth. And this is where a phrase comes in that many people only understand when they experience it firsthand. Your financial life changes not because you know more, but because now you're allowed into the room where the important decisions happen. It's not about intelligence, but about position. It's not about theory, but about presence. From this point on, the game truly changes because you stop reacting to the market and start participating in it. And that feeling, that of finally understanding that there's an entire market you've never seen, is almost like seeing a new map, much deeper and more complex than the one they showed you at the beginning of the journey. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding this layer is essential to realizing what happens when you start to grow within it, when opportunities cease to be exceptions and become part of your path. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. When you begin to see these layers, something very profound happens within you. It's almost as if, for the first time, the market ceases to be a large, confusing labyrinth and begins to have clear outlines, paths, doors, filters, and signals that have always been there, but invisible to those who haven't yet crossed the threshold of financial maturity. And it is precisely here that the great turning point occurs. You realize that the game of wealth was never about finding that magic investment, that perfect stock, that fund that will save you. The true transformation lies in moving up the layers, in accumulating the kind of wealth that puts you in front of bigger decisions, deeper conversations, and broader horizons. This revelation has a huge emotional impact because it dismantles many narratives created throughout your journey. For years, you may have believed that lack of knowledge was what held you back. But when you cross that barrier, you realize the hidden truth. Knowledge without access is like a map without territory. You finally understand that the market has always been divided into layers, and that most people are stuck in the first one, repeating patterns, entering and exiting the same products, thinking they are evolving when in reality they are returning to square one. And when you reach 250K, everything takes on a different perspective. You don't just have money, you have access. And access changes everything. It changes the type of conversations you have, the type of people who seek you out, the type of opportunities that come your way. It changes your mindset because you're no longer trying to escape debt or save a little every month. You start thinking about multiplication, strategy, impact, and that completely alters how you see your own financial journey. That's the moment when you stop being a spectator and become an active participant in the game. It's curious to realize that even after entering the shark room, there are other subdivisions, even more advanced levels, small doors within doors that only open as you continue to grow, observe, accumulate, and make increasingly conscious decisions. It's as if the map never ends. It only gets more detailed, deeper, more revealing. And few people talk about it, not because it's a forbidden secret, but because most don't even know these layers exist. Those who discover it by living. And that's why this moment is so significant. It's not about the number itself, but the perception it unlocks. From here, you start to see the market with different eyes, almost like someone who has finally found enlightenment in a previously dark environment. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a specific point in this journey that completely changes how you navigate these layers. But before continuing, comment below. That makes sense to me. If you've made it this far, you can tell that this topic really resonates with your journey. And that's precisely why I want to extend a simple but important invitation. If this content has helped you see the market in a different way, consider subscribing to the channel. Here we continue, building, layer by layer, a clearer, more honest, and deeper understanding of how the game really works. And also leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end." That's how I know you've walked with me through every part of this journey, and that this topic has resonated with your life. This kind of connection is what keeps this space alive, sincere, and full of purpose. Oh, and if this video gave you any insight, any turning point, leave a like. It's just a tap on the screen, but it really helps keep this conversation going for those who are also seeking clarity amidst so much noise. And since you're here, take advantage of the momentum. There's a video over here that perfectly complements what we talked about today. Click and continue with me there. Let's keep exploring this map together.